समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. Okay. Uh, Today we start with verse 8 of chapter 6. And we read the verse first. Jnana Vijnana Triptatma Kutastho Vijitendriya Yukta Ityuchyate Yogi Samaloष्टाश्म Kanchana. Now, here you have another definition of the yogi. You have some 3-4 definitions of a yogi in the Gita, and here of yoga and yogi. Now, who is a yogi? Who can be called a yogi? So it says here, you see, 1/3 of your sorrows you cannot escape. Just because you have taken a body, there is something called sharir dharma. Now that sharir dharma will give you pain. उसमें disease भी होगी, उसमें pain भी होगी, उसमें all kind of things happen to the body, and not only that, but body means mind and intellect as well. So you, many times, like Gurudev used to say that 2/3 of your sorrows you manufacture. It's a home industry, he used to say. Now that you have also got that experience, that you sit and your mind goes into the future or into the past, and it travels, and you feel sorry about something, regretful about something, remorseful about something, worried about something, anxiety about something. Now all those things are what? They are not happening. The past is not happening and the future is not happening, but your mind is making them happen. ठीक है ना? So when your mind is making them happen, something that has not yet happened, you are already living through it, and living through the worst which your mind has imagined, right? So that kind of, see, Gurudev used to say that a fish can't live without getting wet. It is part of the fish to get wet. It's part of her life to get wet. Similarly, Sharir Dharma, if you have taken a body, that is going to happen, unavoidable sorrow. Now, then the Shastras give the Shastra, it says Jnana Vijnana Triptatma, right? So the Shastras give Jnana. Jnana is knowledge of the reality, and Vijnana is the assimilation of that knowledge which you have to do. So, Jnana Vijnana Triptatma, spiritual understanding and apprehension, assimilation of that Jnana in your everyday life is called Vijnana. Practical application. Then he says, Kutastho Vijitendriya. Now, dekho, Kutastha. Understand this word. This word Kutastha means anvil. You know that blacksmiths, when they have that solid iron piece kept over there, on which they hammer pieces out of shape and they hammer them into some shape or the other. That is called an anvil. Now the anvil suffers no change despite all the hammering, whereas your body, mind and intellect, that is suffering the change on the anvil. If you think you are the body, mind and intellect, it is being hammered out of shape and into different shapes continuously by the world. But this man is Kutastha. He is compared to an anvil. He remains like an anvil. That is called a yogi. Kutastha. He is Jnana Vijnana Triptatma. Triptatma means totally contented. His body, mind, and intellect has no hunger. His body, mind, and intellect does not hanker after any want in the world. That is why he is called a Triptatma. That means he is contented in himself. And he is Kutastha. That means he does not suffer any change in him because he is aligned and attuned to the changeless. He is totally in tune with the changeless. Yoga, he is tuned to, he is joined with the changeless reality. Therefore, he does not suffer the changes. Changes happen, but they do not affect him. So, here you see, he is established in the higher, remains like an anvil, Triptatma. And Triptatma, nothing in the world can tempt the body, mind, and intellect of a yogi. Nothing in the world. Neither the body gets tempted. Body means all the five senses and all your body. Nor the intellect gets tempted with any ideas of more happiness, nor does the mind get tempted of itself. It doesn't get tempted to run and procure objects of any kind, objects of happiness. It doesn't run. So, contemplating always on the self, he is filled with the divine satisfaction. That is Triptatma. He is filled with the divine joy, with the divine satisfaction. And that because he has always Gyan bhi hai, Vignan bhi hai, and that is why he is Triptatma, he is Kutastha, and Vijitendriya. Vijitendriya means he who has conquered his senses. That means the senses do not dictate to him, he dictates to the senses. We are all slaves of our sense organs. They make us dance, they make us run, they make us go all over the place after this, after that, after that. And before we have satisfied ourselves with one object, another one raises its head. So we are continuously contemplating always on objects, not contemplating on the self. So this is it. Now, Vignan is first hand experience of that knowledge. Whatever knowledge you have gained from the teacher, the Jnana, from that, what you apply to yourself, which very few people do, believe me. Everyone loves to listen to satsang. हम सुन के आते हैं, देखें क्या बोल रहे हैं. That attitude everybody has got. But whatever they have heard, at that time they understand the logic of it. At that time they feel what a good idea this is, one must try, but they do not make the effort to try that thing. So now the next line is Yukta ityuchyate yogi. Yukta means an integrated personality whose mind listens to the orders of the intellect. That person is called Yukta. Ayukta, disintegrated personality, where he thinks something, believes something, says something, and does something else. That is Ayukta Purush. And Yukta Ityuche, that yogi who is a Yukta personality, for him Samloštashma Kanchana. This is a phrase, Samloštashma Kanchana has got three things in it. Some means equal for him, absolutely of equal value to him are what? Loshtashma Kanchana, that means mud, stone, and gold. Now, even if you think mud is mud, you all know. Huh? Then you ask, how can mud and gold be equal? See, please understand that we are the ones who put value on something. Nothing has value unless you put the value on it. I'll give you an example. This is the actual thing that happened. There was a ship that used to sail somewhere from Sri Lanka to somewhere. Now, Sri Lanka and the coast around it, they say that there are a lot of gems that are found there, precious stones, semi precious stones, it is famous for. So, that deck, there's something called a deck stone in navy, and the deck generally becomes slippery because the water of the sea keeps lashing onto the deck in a stormy sea. That deck has to be scrubbed clean with a stone. you know Ah. You must have seen that kind of stone when you get your floor scrubbed professionally. You might have seen, when these people come and they scrub floors, they have a stone with them. So that kind of a stone. Now that stone, that boy used to clean the deck, big stone. Now on that ship was a jeweler. He happened to see that stone. Now a jeweler's eye could recognize that that stone was a big sapphire. It was a very precious one whole piece of sapphire. That boy did not know it's a sapphire. He thought it's a scrubbing stone, right? This man understood the value. So for him, it was very valuable. He kept telling him that you give this to me, give it to me. He said, no, I can't give it to you. This is of so much use to me. Then he started offering the price. He raised it so much that the boy was tempted. So he said, okay, you take it. I'll scrub with something else. He gave that to him. And this man sold it in the market for much, much higher price. So the value put on the same stone by two different people is different. Okay. So he says that for a yogi, it is samaloštashma kanchana, that means mud, hmm, and precious stone or gold. Hmm. Now, what is the value of gold? Tell me. Gold has value only in exchange of objects that you want to buy, isn't it? Otherwise, gold is just a metal. It's like iron or anything else. Gold has value because you can exchange it for money. You can exchange it for some expensive object, isn't it? That is why you put value on gold, or the world puts value on gold. Now, this man does not want anything, so gold has got no value, because what is he going to exchange it with? I have also seen Swami Chinmayananda throwing gold watches, gold pendants, gold chains to people. I've seen it myself, because he didn't care about any one of those things. This is a yogi, no value. Hmm? Now, see, he understands that all the objects of the world are dream objects. When a dreamer wakes up, does he cry for something he lost in a dream, or a dream check that was snatched away from him? Does he cry? Or does he feel elated that he got a dream check of so many $1 billion from the President of America in his dream? Does he feel elated? Does he celebrate? No. He can't even take that bank check to his bank. There is no check. So he has gained the kingdom of bliss, and he does not look to these petty objects of the world for joy. Hmm? So Samaloštashma Kanchana, Yogi Yunjit. He is called a yogi. So now come to the verse 9. These two verses are generally done together, but I'm doing it separately. They deal with two different things. सुहृन्मित्रार्पुदासीनं मध्यस्थ द्वेष्य बन्धुषु साधुष्वपि च पापेषु समबुद्धिर्विशिष्यते. Now, carefully. Stanza 8 deals with your attitude towards the objects of the world. And stanza 9 deals with your relationships with people of the world. So, while stanza 8 deals with objects which you can gather into your house for your body, for the pleasure of your body, this deals with emotions and thoughts that you acquire from people or with people. So, this thing is very important. Your attitude to people and people's attitude to you determine your happiness, isn't it? People like us. Huh. So then, attitude, he says that since he is tuned to the higher, he does not tie up with any other relationship. There are relatives all over, there are friends all over, but he is not hungry for their recognition. He is not hungry for their love. He does not beg for applause. And no action he does in which he is asking for other people's claps that, oh, you are great. He is not interested. Whereas we are all the time seeking valuation from people. People evaluate you and then they say either that you are useless or you are a fool or that you are great. This man is not interested. He is not bothered what people think about him. वो एक महात्मा का प्रवचन में सुन रही थी, वो कहते हैं सबसे बड़ा रोग क्या कहेंगे लोग. Now, a lot of people, just think about it. How much of your life is determined by kya kahenge log? What you put on as clothes, as jewelry, what you look like, the kind of car you drive, your status in life, how powerful you are, all those things. Why do you acquire those things? Tell me. You acquire them to build your image in people's mind. This one, वो बहुत बड़े आदमी है. बड़ा आदमी means the rich man. बहुत बड़े आदमी हैं. Your status is built by a car. Your status is built by how big a house you have. Your status is built by how expensive jewelry you are wearing, isn't it? Now, these things then become bigger than you. Think about it. If they enhance your status, then they are definitely higher than you, my dear. They are bigger than you. आपने उनको पदवी दी. You have put them on that pedestal. A yogi does not. Now, understand one thing. People interpret you not as you and what you really are. People filter your image through their minds. And whatever is their texture, mental texture, they recognize you as that. That is the reason why any one person is debatable. So many people think he is very good. Many people think he is very bad. Some people think he is a cheat. Some people think, oh, he is a very, very realized master. Some people think he is very knowledgeable. Some people think he knows nothing, isn't it? So all that is how, all that is why. That is only because as they get reflected in the minds of those people, so is their image in his or her mind. Now, their mental conditioning is such that you appear whatever you appear to their minds. Okay? Now, so if you only, another thing, what we do is, he does nothing for me, so why should I do anything for him? This one doesn't love me, why should I love him? So if you are doing this, he hates me, so I also hate him. Hmm? Then isn't your mind dancing to the tune that others play? If your love is dependent on someone else's love, your hate is dependent on someone else's hate, then he is playing the tune and you are dancing to his tune. A yogi is above all this. A yogi is not bothered who loves him and who hates him, or who thinks what of him or doesn't. Huh? So their minds are different, so their thoughts are different. Each one's mind is different. And so the thoughts that they bring out from their mind are going to be different. And that is why, look at this. So Suhran Mitran, now let's take each word. He says, Suhran Mitran Udasina. Now, देखो पहला लीजिए. पहला क्या है? Suhran. Suhran means Suhridaya, somebody who is friendly to you, who has good feelings for you, वो आपका सुहृदय है. मित्र, मित्र, all of us know, friend, we translated. उदासीन, उदासीन are people who are indifferent to you. They neither hate you nor love you nor are concerned about you. ठीक है. मध्यस्थ, मध्यस्थ are neutral, neutral people, you know. So they think, yeah, 50-50. He's a good man, not very good man. ठीक है. I am neutral about him. I have no great opinion about him, nor do I have any low opinion about him. Those kind of people are called madhyastha, middling, sitting on the fence. Dveshi, द्वेषी, द्वेष कौन करते हैं? People who hate you, who are jealous of you, who are malicious towards you, वो द्वेषी हो गए. और बंधु, बंधु are actually, बंधु means brother, but बंधु has come from the word बंधन. बंध जानते हो? Tie up. Where you are tied in a relationship, that person becomes bandhu. So your brother, because you have the same parents, your sister, you have the same parents, bandhu, you become bandhu. Even in laws, there's a relationship. So brother in law, father in law, right? Sister in law. But brother, sister, father are relationships, blood relationships, right? They are in laws, but there is a relationship, so tying. So ये सब जो हैं, ये relationship, see, understand, no matter how much you tie up with your relationships, if your wife died in a dream, do you wake up from the dream and cry for that wife who died in the dream? You don't. This man, yogi, has got the vision of reality. And all the relationships in the world come into the sphere of illusion. So when every relationship comes into the sphere of illusion, then you cannot cry for them. You cannot cry for something that appeared to be there and then is not there. Can you do that? You can't. That thing is not real. So when that thing is not real, how can you? देखो, dream not real. Deep sleep, the state in which you are at, unreal. Waking is also unreal. And these three states are described in the Mandukya Upanishad in great detail. And the Mandukya talks of the yogi waking up into the fourth dimension of his being. That is called the Turiya Avastha. Even modern psychologists like Carl Jung talks of it as self-actualization. That is the word he uses. He doesn't say self-realization, he calls it self-actualization. Now, Carl Jung is a very prominent psychologist of the 20th century. Even he has said that there is a fourth dimension into which this man of realization wakes up. self actualization wakes up, just like you wake up from a dream or a deep sleep. And when you do wake up, all the rest see and you understand was an illusion, isn't it? Similarly, a man who wakes up into this self actualization or self realization, Turiya Avastha, as the Mandukya calls it, also understands all the rest as a dream, as an illusion. So, whom should he cry for? And he understands that all is one. Just like in the dream, your husband or your wife or your son or the tiger or the forest was nothing else but the dream itself, your mind itself. They look different, but were they not just your mind alone? Similarly, all that you see and feel, the yogi has got this full realization when he wakes up from this dream that this world and all the people in it and all your relationships in it are nothing else but a dream. And therefore, relationships also are the same for him. It does not matter to him who is hating him and who loves him. Come to the verse 10. योगी युञ्जीत सततम् आत्मानं रहसि स्थितः एकाकीयत चित्तात्मा निराशीरपरिग्रहः. Let the yogi try constantly to keep the mind steady, remaining in solitude, alone with the mind and body controlled, free from hope and greed. अब देखो आप कहोगे कि ये क्या बात हुई भैया, how can anybody be like this, you cannot be like this. And what does it say? He wants you to keep your mind steady constantly. Now one thing please understand, we are doing a chapter on meditation, right? So these are all basically first pre-exercises to condition the mind for meditation, because meditation is a mental exercise. I have told you that before. It has got nothing to do with the body. It's not something, it's not yoga exercises that you do with the body. It is a mental exercise. Now, unless and until the mind is ready for those exercises, you cannot do it. Even physical exercises. Haven't you heard people saying, no, my body is too stiff to bend? When they try yoga for the first time, they say that, isn't it? Haven't you heard? My body is too stiff to bend backwards. My body is too stiff to bend forward. My body is too stiff to touch my toes. Similarly, the mind also, filled with the objects of the world and the thoughts of relationships and the worries and the fears and the loves and the hates, is not ready for meditation. So all these pre-exercises are exercises which are telling you that if you do these, then you will easily be able to meditate. Otherwise, it is a futile exercise. Your efforts will be futile. So then, what are the efforts here? Dekho, he says, keeping the mind steady constantly. Now, when he says constantly, understand during meditation, not all the time. You can't all the time keep your mind steady. Your mind does dance. I mean, people like us, our mind does dance. So, to keep your mind steady, at least try during meditation. So, how do you do it? The question is how. Now, Krishna advises. Krishna, like a good coach, advises a tennis player, and he says that how, with minimum effort, you can get the maximum advantage. A tennis coach teaches the player, isn't it? If you move your foot till here, you will be able to do this. If you quickly turn around, you can do this. If you do a backhand in this particular stroke, you can do this, reach that. So the expertise, it belongs to the coach. And here the coach is advising kya kya cheezein. One is rahasi. The word rahasi means solitude. Rahasi means solitude. Understand, it doesn't mean feeling alone. When you feel alone, you are hankering for company. You are feeling a void. Okay? But when you say rahasi, rahasi is when you enjoy that quietude and that solitariness. You want to be alone with yourself. That is called rahasi. ठीक है ना? And rahasi has got a sense of secretiveness also. That means not sharing your time with others at that time. Not that you are sitting alone, but you are on the cell phone connecting with so many people. That is not rahasi. Rahasi is totally being with yourself, absolutely alone with you, your mind, and your thoughts, not connected to anybody. Acha. Then there is ekaki. Ekaki yata chittatma, he says, isn't it? Hmm. Rahasi sthita means establishing yourself in solitariness. And then he says, ekaki yata chittatma. So, ekaki means being alone with the body and mind controlled. Yata chittatma, that means positioning yourself in your inner being. Chittatma, withdrawing your mind and intellect from the world, withdrawing your senses and body from reaching out to the world. When you are sthit in that, that is called yata chittatma. And then he says the last two, he says nirashir aparigraha. Nirashir aparigraha. There are two words in one. This is a sandhi in Sanskrit. Nirashi means free from hoping. Okay. Ek, huh? We'll do both them together. Aparigraha means free from the greed of possession. I want to bring this home. I want that. I want that. I want that. And our mind is so greedy that even when we are out for a walk, you see a beautiful flower. Immediately the mind says, pluck it and take it home. What is that? Why can't you appreciate it there? How beautifully it is blooming and giving pleasure to so many walkers who come there. But what do you want to do? Parigraha. Parigraha means picking up anything, whatever you see, and bringing it in your possession. And aparigraha, the yogi is nirashir, nirasha. Asha jante na? Asha, hope. So he is nirasha, nirashir, and parigraha. He is without parigraha. So aparigraha. Now understand that both these, asha and parigraha, they both arise from desire. They are both the children of desire. So if you don't have desire, you will neither have greed to possess, nor will you have hopes to acquire anything. So your mind will not run out. Now, in solitude, there is a secrecy also. Huh? These both are important. You know, solitude and secrecy are both important factors. देखो, if you want to go into meditation, you have to withdraw yourself into solitude. ये बहुत बहुत important है. People talk about it publicly. Have you seen? Meditation, because of the media and how much it is become a public thing. It has become a drawing room conversation. Can you imagine? Do you meditate? Have you tried meditation? I do it like this, you do it like, Are bhai, you are not supposed to talk. It is something very personal, something very private, and you should guard your sadhana. If you don't guard your sadhana secretly, you dissipate the energies that you have acquired from it. Gurudev, I strictly asked him once. I said, Swamiji, can one talk about one's spiritual progress between husband and wife? He said, no. Imagine. So, what are you talking publicly? आप ड्राइंग रूम में बैठ के, there's a party going on. I have seen so many people, my goodness, with a glass of whiskey in their hand, and they are talking about the Gita, and they are talking about meditation and asking questions. Where have you reached in your meditation? Did you have any experiences in your meditation? क्या बात है? So देखो, solitude is very, very important. Jesus went into solitude for 18 years before he was enlightened. Aurobindo enclosed himself, not meeting anybody, for 40 long years, 40. That is half the lifetime. Buddha went into the wilderness, not met anybody, did tapasya alone for 8 years. And Swami Ramatirtha went, secluded himself for 2 years. हम और आप क्या करते हैं? हम तो 2 minutes भी नहीं अपने आप को secluded. You know, people are restless even in this time of lockdown, in COVID lockdown. People are restless because they cannot meet people, because they cannot go into crowded places, because that is their lifeblood. Meeting this one, gossiping with this one, talking about that one, you know. And on top of it, they go on saying, I'm not bothered, I'm not concerned. How does it bother me? Or if it doesn't bother you, why are you talking about it? The very fact that you are conversing about anything means that it is riding your mind. That is a test, understand? And then you go on saying, वैसे मुझको फर्क नहीं पड़ता, वैसे it doesn't make, I'm not interested. That is not it. Now, then how is this achieved? This kind of solitude, how is it achieved? Uh, देखो, mind cannot deeply apply itself if you do not let the mind be alone. The mind will, all kind of things you put into your mind, then even when you are sitting alone, all those things will vomit out. Haven't you heard people saying that when I try to meditate, all kind of thoughts, even stupid thoughts, even unimportant thoughts keep coming into my mind? Haven't you heard them say? Why is that? Because they do not practice solitude. They do not practice physical and mental solitude. There has to be effort and consistency in your effort. Not this कि एक दिन कर लिया. No, no. All the sadhanas like Mon, Japa, solid Ekaki, Rahasi, these are all sadhanas advised to somebody who is aspiring to meditate. And slowly, slowly, you will flower out into a meditator if you consistently practice these things. Now, mentally extracting yourself from the body, mind, and intellect, from its preoccupations, and these are for early sadhaks, okay, early meditators. They have to seek no disturbance, no disturbance at all. This is to quieten the mind. Unless you quieten the mind, you cannot go into meditation. Gurudev, these are for early seekers. The mature seekers or the mature meditators can meditate anywhere. They can meditate in a train compartment, they can meditate sitting in a mall, they can meditate anywhere because their mind is so trained to withdraw and go into meditation. But if you are an early seeker, you need to do all this. Because just like the example he used to give was of the small child, when a mother is putting the small baby to sleep, she dims the lights, she tells everybody to become quiet, no noise should be there in the house. She slowly swings his cot and she is singing him a soft lullaby, patting him slowly, slowly, caressing him slowly, slowly. And all this is required for the child to sleep. Whereas you and I can go to sleep anywhere, isn't it? Yeah. So then here, now it is a secret thing. It is rahasi. The word rahasi I told you, उसमें secretiveness आती है. तो free from the hope of possession, you go. Don't worry that how will I earn. Don't worry that if I am free from possession, it is only a sense of possession. The greed should go. And if the Lord has promised that if you are coming to me, I look after your kshema, yoga kshema. He says, yoga kshema vahamyaham is his promise in the Gita. I will look after the possessions and also look after whatever you have got. Yoga and kshema is my duty, then he says. Okay. Now, a lot of people have false solitude. Hmm? Now, that false solitude is what? Pride. They want to be exclusive. They exclude everybody else. They hoard. Hmm? And they have a private collection of this or that or whatever. They want uniqueness. They're shutting out everybody else, not even sharing a recipe, my dear. Have you seen that? There are people, this is my exclusive recipe. So when you ask her for the recipe, she gives you the recipe minus one ingredient. So obviously the recipe will not turn out like hers. Hmm? And she feels very happy when you say कि मैंने बनाई तो थी, but it didn't come out like you make it. So she said, no, but this is how I make it. So see, exclusivity. And then uh, uh, good 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 solitude is what? True solitude? Peace, humility, silence, selflessness, and expansiveness, embracing everybody with you, taking everybody along with you. Hmm? Now, then the last verse, verse 11. शुचौ देशे प्रतिष्ठाप्य स्थिरमासनमात्मनः नात्युच्छ्रितं नातिनीचं चैलाजिनकुशोत्तरम्. This is a very interesting verse. Now, kingdoms cannot give you the happiness that you get in meditation. Nothing in the world can give you, neither name, nor fame, nor any relationship can give you that quality of bliss which you can gain in meditation. Now, if that is the promise, then how to reach it? How to do it? Isn't it something very important that you would like to gain? So, again, as I said, like a coach, Gita does not leave out any detail. They give you the exact details. Now, look here, the exact details, what he is giving you. Hmm. How to reach such a rare happiness. And I told you about the tennis coach and how he does. So, the minimum effort for the maximum results that he is trying to give you. देखो, first he gives you the seat, the आसन. ठीक है ना? अब आसन की क्या वो डेफिनेशन है? चैला जिन कुशोत्तरम. He gives you. First of all, शुचौ देशे. That's the first. There has to be cleanliness. Unless and until there is cleanliness, that is the first thing that is mentioned. Now, see, he has given you the mental attitude of the meditator. Till verse 10, we have given you the mental conditioning. Now, he gives you the physical part of it. आसन कैसा होना चाहिए, जगह कैसी होनी चाहिए where you meditate. So, देखो, वो कहते हैं सबसे पहले शुचौ देशे. शुचौ देशे is cleanliness. Now, the place where you meditate affects the mind. Carefully. The place where you meditate affects the mind. You cannot meditate in a nightclub where women are dancing and throwing up their clothes. The vibes over there will be so different. The energies that you imbibe in such places are horrible. So for meditation, when he says shuchao, it means the floor should be clean, neat, tidy. The air should be clean. There should be no mosquitoes, no flies. Flies keep disturbing you, mosquitoes disturb you. So there should be no insects over there. And they should be free of ants that can crawl up and bite you. So all those things. Now, cleanliness has a direct impact on your mental condition. It is a known fact that unless the situation, it should not be expensively decorated or anything, but it should be clean, neat, tidy, and that will have an effect on your mind. देखो, every place has got its vibes. Some people's houses, when you enter, you suddenly feel peaceful, nice. You feel the vibes are divine. And some people's house, when you enter, the vibes are disturbing. You feel यहाँ पता नहीं क्या होता है, and you don't like the place. It is vastu, बहुत बहुत इस पे importance देती. The place where you are going to make your house. All kind of pujas are done to purify and sanctify that bhumi जहां आपका घर बनेगा, है ना? So Hinduism believes in the vibes of the place. There is this famous story about the Vijayanagar Empire. That there was a king who went hunting, and while he was going there, वो शिकार करने, riding on his horse, he saw a very strange sight, and he followed that sight, and he came to the cottage of a Mahatma who was sitting there. So he went to the Mahatma ji and he told him this, that मैंने आज बड़ी अजीब, I saw a strange thing happening. What was the strange thing? The strange thing was that there was a tiger racing and trying to eat a hare, catch a hare, a rabbit, and eat it. And the rabbit was running for his life. But when he came to a certain place, the rabbit suddenly turned around and bared its fangs and teeth at the lion and started dashing towards the lion in an aggressive posture. So the lion was shocked. He couldn't believe that the lion froze in his place because he could not believe that a rabbit is trying to attack him. So, how did this happen? The king asked the Mahatma. The Mahatma told him that this is the glory of this particular place. That anybody who comes to this little piece of land, he becomes fearless. So, if you establish an empire over here, you will become a great king and you will rule here for a long, long period. And that was the origin of the Vijayanagar Empire in the south, which ruled that whole area for a long time, very, very powerfully. Now, that is one. Now, Sthiram. It should be a firm seat, motionless. And that is why they say you should not be sitting on a rubber cushion, because the rubber cushion will make you move. Even a small movement in meditation will disturb your mind and it will shatter your concentration. So the seat has to be very, very firm. And even a slight movement will disturb. So the spine should be erect, and fingers loosely interlocked in front of you in your lap. That is how you should sit. Acha, the verse very clearly says, na natyuchritam na atinicham. That means it should not be too high and it should not be too low. So if you are sitting on the top of a mountain, you are going to be mentally insecure. All the time you will feel that if I slip from here or if I fall asleep, I will fall down. And so you are not able to withdraw your mind. Then it should not be too low. Like some people like to go and meditate in their basement. Never do that. Never, never do that. The Vastu Kala is a science which also says that in fact a house should not have a basement because it is hollow. There is no support being given to that area where there is a basement, especially not under your puja room or under your bedroom. There should not be a basement, they say. But to live in a basement, you will definitely fall sick, and there are a lot of negative tendencies. That is what the Vastu people say. So to sit in a basement and meditate, underground is only used by animals who want to hide carefully. You know, snakes, huh? Bichu, huh? uh, rats, mice, rabbits, cockroaches, this, that, they all go underground and hide. They dig holes and hide, and they come out at night to prowl around, prowl around, right? So you should never be in the basement. They, you will develop a closed personality, an insecure personality, according to Vastu Shastra, and according to Gita also. You should not be sitting low, because it is, there are the energies are not good. It is enclosed, the air, the sunlight is restricted, there is dampness, so you can contract muscle pain, rheumatism, and the bone diseases also come by that. So अच्छा, आसन क्या होना चाहिए? Now that is Chela Jin Kushottaram. This is the last, and that is very very important. Gurudev also used to say, ये तीन चीजें हैं. नीचे dry grass, kusha. Kusha is a dry grass का आसन, और dry grass बिछा लीजिए. उसके ऊपर skin of an animal, like a deer, mostly a deer. It can also be any other animal, but a deer skin mostly, because deer पालते थे आश्रम वाले लोग. कई लोग जानवर पेट एनिमल्स पालते हैं. सो द स्किन ऑफ दोज एनिमल्स वाज गिफ्टेड टू महात्माज मेनी टाइम, बिकॉज महात्माज यूज्ड टू रोल इट अप एंड पुट इट अंडर देयर स्लीव. कि कुशा तो उनको मिली जाती थी, ड्राई ग्रास इन द फॉरेस्ट. ऑन टॉप ऑफ दैट दे यूज्ड टू पुट दिस स्किन. Gurudev used to say it is not at all essential that you put that skin. Only if you're meditating in forests, because that skin, A, protects you from damp ground. Also, insects do not crawl onto animal skins. So you are saved from ants and insects and all that. So animal skin, and on top of that, a loose cloth. Gurudev used to say that for grihasthas, the best way to do is also fold a blanket 8 times, put the blanket there, and on top of the blanket, put a cotton cloth on top. Don't put synthetic things, because if they sweat, then you will feel uncomfortable and you can have skin allergies. So on top of that, you have to put this also. So there is a, अच्छा कुशा क्यों? कुशा लैंड, आपने देखा है ना, कुत्ते जानवर वो काफी सारा ड्राई ग्रास को रख के और उसके ऊपर सो जाते हैं. हैव यू सीन? Yeah. So why do they do that? Animals instinctively find a, it is soft. In the winters, it lends warmth. In the summer, it becomes cool. And that is why they sleep on that. So kusha, niche, is very good to have kusha. So this is the asan, Chela Jina Kushottaram. Now, having given these, that the asan should neither be too high, or not too low, it should be sthir and all that. Look at the details he has given you. Next, we will move on further. ॐ पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति. हरि ओम. श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरि ओम.